It's time to be the hero.
Welcome to all of you to the very first of our district training sessions for this Rotary year. One of the goals of District Governor Jamie Zolpikar is to have more opportunities for Rotarians to learn about many of the subjects that we handled in the District Training Assembly in April. We also have a very talented presenter with us tonight, past District Governor Doug Baker. I know Doug pretty well. I think for about 10 years, we met at PETS. And what I learned about Doug at PETS is that he's an experienced and very articulate Rotarian. And he has a very wicked sense of humor, just in case he doesn't exhibit that for us tonight. Doug's going to be talking with us about the Rotary Foundation. And with that, let's get the show on the road, Doug.
All righty, thank you. Yeah, we met at PETS about a decade ago. That's right. And time goes on quickly. I can't see who's on the whole attendee thing right now. But what my goal is tonight, by the way, I am Doug Baker. I was a past district governor in District 5280, the one in Los Angeles. And I've served as the District Rotary Foundation Chair and the District International Service Chair. They're both kind of interrelated. And you'll see why as we go through this presentation, which is basically just an overview of the foundation and try to educate a little bit as we go along. And there will be time for questions at the end of it. Okay, and so if you're ready, we'll get started. Obviously, that's the whole purpose of the Rotary Foundation, doing good in the world. And you know, hang on. Slide is not progressing. Mouse click. I'm not going to read. I love people who do PowerPoint presentations and they read to you what's on the screen. Okay, I think you can do that. The only exception I make to that is I do read them if we have people in the audience that graduated from UCLA. Okay. Now, who oversees our foundation? Other Rotarians. We don't have a single non-Rotarian that has a thing to do with our Rotary Foundation. The trustees are all Rotarians. They make sure that your donations are well invested and spent wisely so that they'll do good in the world. Okay. And who makes the decisions about where the money in our foundation is going to be spent? You and I do. Club members do. That's who makes the decisions. Okay. 91% of the funds donated are spent on the foundation. That's an awfully high record. That is excellent percentage. And as you can see, we've won the Charity Navigator 4-star rating the last 13 consecutive years. Okay, that means that they rate us as one of the most outstanding, most transparent, most honest, most worthy foundations in the world. The annual fund. When you give donations to the annual fund, you can give donations to other things as well, such as Polio Plus, relief funds, other specific global grants. But when you give money to the annual fund, that money is used to fund international projects, such as this one. This young lady is Gabriela Martinez Flores. And you can see she's in front of a sewing machine, which she didn't have before the start of this grant, which is between a club in the United States and one in Honduras. Okay? She is sewing her clothes, selling her clothes. She's making an income for her living, as is most of her neighbors are doing the same thing. Whereas before this particular grant, that wasn't available to them. So we have improved the quality of life in that little village in Honduras by our efforts with the Rotary Foundation. Our foundation is dedicated to causes. There they are. Okay? We do not donate to anything that is outside of those causes or areas of focus. Everything from education to health, disease prevention, water, community microeconomic development, basic education and literacy. Okay? This is what we do. This is what we do. And we don't do anything outside of that area. Now, having said that, I defy you to come up with a need in this world that can't be part of those areas. I haven't found one yet. They're all in there. Okay. Now, with the annual fund, money goes to the annual fund, donations from clubs and districts, and it sets in the annual fund for 3 years. Doesn't do a thing. Okay. Then at the end of that 3-year period of time, okay, some of that money goes to the World Fund, which RI directs, the trustees of RI directs, and the rest goes back to the districts in the form of district designated funds. Okay. That means the districts decide what to do with it. Now, by way of clarification, we don't get a check from Rotary International and says, here's your direct DDF funds for the year, put it in your checking account and spend it as you wish. No, they actually hold the funds and we direct them to what we want to do with them, which they do. We get 50%, 1/2 of the donations that we made 3 years ago back to us in the forms of DDF, 50%. I don't know any other charity that you can give a donation to, and then 3 years later, they'll give half of it back to you again. And then to the extent that those funds are used for global grants, okay, grants outside of the United States, okay, they will match 80% of that amount. Okay, so a $20,000 gift in the form of a global grant matched by Rotary becomes now $36,000 towards a grant, okay, which is the minimum amount that you need to do a global grant. Okay, it really adds up. Story time. Okay, if you got another beer, wine, cup of coffee, good time to have it. Okay, I've been, gosh, Colombia twice, Dominican Republic, Medellin in Colombia, Mulegé, Mexico.
Okay,
Church
buddy, I will
Mexico.
be back in before 7. And then you want to go to Wendy's?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
someone needs
All right.
to someone
Love
needs
you.
to mute.
Bye.
Doug, you're on mute
Doug
also.
is also muted.
I don't know how that happened, but it sure probably enhanced the presentation.
If you are not the speaker and before the Q&A comes up, please mute yourself. Thank you.
Anyway, I was saying I've had the privilege of being to Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, Mulegé, Mexico, Peru. I've been all these places as part of an international humanitarian trip where you go there and you actually perform projects. You don't go by an empty grove and say, we're going to plant someday, Rotarians are going to plant 1,000 trees. No. You get out of the bus and you plant 1,000 trees. If you're giving bakery equipment to an orphanage, you're there to help install it and fire it up for the first time. These are thrilling experiences. They are just thrilling. Best vacations I've ever had. Okay. Now, one little story about El Salvador, because that's one of the highlights of my journeys with Rotary. We were down there for 72 hours, just 72 hours. Okay. And one experience just really got to me and stays with me to this day. And I should point out I was with my daughter on that trip, so she was about 20 at that time. One of the things we did was a wheelchair delivery. Rotary doesn't do those anymore, but we did at that point. And we had approximately 1,000 brand new state-of-the-art wheelchairs in this large auditorium there. When we got there, they were just lined up, I mean, in precision formation, just boom, 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 right next to each other. And then, oh my gosh, someone has put a lot of time into this. That was, of course, the local Rotarians. And as we're waiting for the recipients for these chairs to come, we got our instructions. Our job is to basically, after a little bit of paperwork is done by the recipients, we go pick up the recipient, the immobile member of the family who, up until this point, either crawled on the ground, sat in a patio chair all day long, but was immobile for whatever reasons. And then we'd carry that person, right, to a chair, place them in a chair, show them how to use the chair, and watch the expression on their face just change oh so dramatically. Their life had just changed. They're mobile now. They are excited. Okay. But none of them could leave because their instructions were no one leaves until all 1,000 chairs had been filled. No one complained. No one was impatient. Okay. And we filled those chairs. But before that happened, I forgot. Before our first recipient came by, we were visited by 10 or 12 members of the local military, each with heavy assault weapons hanging over their chest. And they wanted to come in, and they told the president of the local Rotary Club, no, get these people out here. You leave. We will give out the chairs to people when they come. Again, heavily armed. And the president of the Rotary Club down there said, no. We're Rotarians. We will do this. You will not. Goodbye now. And I'm thinking, I'm fine going back to our fancy hotel and having a drink and let the military do this. I don't want to be here when they start shooting. And they got into an argument. And the bottom line is the military left, but not before they said, we'll be back. And then the recipients came in, and about 10 or 12 of them come in, and then here comes the military again. But instead of automatic weapons, they're each carrying a musical instrument. And they start in the corner of this auditorium, and they start playing all things Beatles music, which they did the entire afternoon. And I could not believe it. I just could not believe it. But we're there for 3 or 4 hours doing all of this. And our locals had told us, whatever you do not shed a tear for anyone here. Do not do it. That's an act of humiliation, of disgrace, of pity. Will not go over well. You can't do that. It was difficult at times, very difficult at times. And however, as they were leaving, we were standing outside the doorway as they rolled off one by one by one by one. And so many people came over to our little group, and in broken but just beautiful English, they would say to us, God bless you. God bless the United States. Okay. And boy, as they left off, that's when the tears started to come. And I realized you can bring about a difference. You can bring about a peace, one person at a time. And so ever since then, I take interest in El Salvadorian things. I wonder how these people are doing. And those type of trips are just phenomenal. There's my story. Okay. Every Rotarian, every year. Anybody familiar with that? Okay.
Yep.
You are. Bill, yes.
Yes.
Would hope you would be. Okay. Basically, what I would like to see happen is have every Rotarian in the organization. You'll see on the slide there, only 34% of Rotarians donate to the annual fund. Just 34%. That means that 66% do not. But if we could do a better job of getting our members to contribute to the annual fund, we would collect another $5 or $10 million a year, just based on that $25 to $50 donation. We should be encouraging that. And you can see the statistics. I'm not gonna read it all. But 2 years ago, when they finished the books on this, over 2,066 global grants were awarded. That's amazing. Some of them for $35,000, $50,000, some of them for several hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. So we want to encourage every Rotarian in your club to give to Rotary every year. And notice $25, $50 a year. Okay. That's less than one Starbucks coffee a month to achieve that goal. Let's encourage it. I love this picture. Okay. Sustaining our work. A Rotary Foundation sustaining member is someone who gives $100 or more to the annual fund each year. $100. It ain't that much. But from a district level, those type of members, we need that. We depend upon that because we can see we're going to have this much available for us for granting and community grants next year because of what we know they give every year. Very important. Paul Harris Fellow recognition. Okay. Paul Harris, of course, the founder of Rotary. You can become a Paul Harris Fellow, and by doing so, you recognize your involvement in Rotary by contributing $1,000 to eligible funds. Again, Polio Plus, the global grant, the annual fund, those all count towards that, or by giving 1,000 recognition points by another donor. Okay, let's talk about recognition points. Okay, this district has cumulatively, with all their clubs, have over 1 million recognition points. Now, what are they? You give $100 to Rotary, you get 100 recognition points in return. Okay, give $1,000, you get 1,000 recognition points. Now, what can you do with that? Only one thing only. Well, no, apparently two. You can hoard them, which does nobody any good, or you can use them to recognize someone else in your club to help them become a Paul Harris Paul Harris Fellow, or move them along to the next line of Paul Harris Fellow. Paul Harris 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Clubs aren't using those. We're not doing that. And there's no reason that we shouldn't be on a club level. Every club has those available, not one that does not. Okay. I take that back. There is one club that does not. That's our club, my club, because they're new. So we haven't got them yet. Other than that, every club in this district has them. We ought to be using them. It's a great thing to do. And we're going to have a major donor reception. I think it's in December, Judy, I've forgotten, or March of next year, maybe.
November 2nd.
Oh, is this Joyce? Okay, thank you. Okay, that's the date. And one of the things we want to have there is the room just packed with climbing or first-time Paul Harris Fellow people to recognize those. So let's get started on that with the club level as well. Paul Harris Society members. Okay. By the way, we had 10,000 of those a few years ago. Now we have over 30,000. These are people who give $1,000 or more to Rotary in one of the forms that you can do that. Okay. We have 20% of almost all the money donated to the Rotary Foundation comes from Paul Harris Society members. Okay. Those donations go to help local and international projects. Okay. And you get recognition and you get donor credit as well. So there's the club recognition banners that you can achieve, banners that you can hang in your club and be proud of it. 100% foundation giving, which is a club in which the members gave an average of $100 to the Rotary Foundation, all members. Now, average, that means you can have people in your club that didn't give anything and some that gave more. But if the average is $100 per member, you are eligible for this banner. The Every Rotarian Every Year Club I talked about, 25 to 50 bucks a Rotarian. If every member of your club does that, you can get a banner for that. 100% Paul Harris Society Club banner. That's a little harder to do because it involves a $1,000 donation from everybody. But again, yet another banner. Or the 100% Paul Harris Fellow banner. That recognizes clubs in which every one of the members of the club is a Paul Harris Fellow. And remember, you can achieve that through cash donations or recognition points. Okay. A lot of clubs are 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club, but they did it 20 years ago. Okay. We don't have any club in this district that is currently a 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club during the current year or the last Rotary year. A lot of ways to give. You want to give, Rotary International has a way to take it. Okay. You can see them all there. Rotary Direct is kind of cool. You just dial that up. I won't comment too much on this. It's all there. It's all self-explanatory. Right? Everything can be done online. You can mail checks. You can do everything just from the easiness of your living room. Right? Rotary Direct is really kind of cool. You just sign up. Okay? They'll zap your checking your savings account at the level that you want, whenever you want, and that's how you do it. Okay? So you can take a look at, we're doing work with COVID relief, and hand tools and medical equipment, water filters, conflict resolution training, all these things because of the generosity of our members, the awareness of club foundation chairs and encouraging their members to participate, just knowing that no matter what you give or the type of gift you give, Again, you're doing good in the world. You're doing good outside of the United States, and you're doing good in your own community. Both. Now, one comment that I'll make. A lot of people have this idea that, well, you know, why should we give money to the Rotary Foundation? All they do is give it to countries outside the United States. We have needs here too. So why do we have to give it away? Well, here's the statistic for you. It is true that the United States is the #1 country in terms of donations to the Rotary Foundation. Yes, we are. What's also true, we are the #4 country in terms of receiving global grants back into the United States. So a great amount of what we give comes right back to us. So when people throw that out to you, let them know how wrong they are. They really are. Thank you all. Thank you all. And now the fun part. Should I get off of screen share now, Marilyn?
Do that, and then we can see if somebody raises their hand or uses the symbol.
Back.
Questions?
Wow.
Esther?
Oh, thank you, Marilyn. Doug, can you please go back to sustaining members?
Yes, I can. Maybe not.
Or maybe just share, because I
No,
think I saw it really
sustaining members,
quickly.
yeah,
just
those
to-
that give $100 or more to the Rotary Foundation each year.
Oh, it's even less than Paul Harris.
Yes, it
Oh.
is. Yeah, Paul Harris Society is 1,000 per
1,000.
year. Yeah.
I don't see everybody on the screen, so raise your hand and wave if you have a question or comment. Yes, Jennifer. You're muted.
I know.
There you go.
Okay, two questions. One is, the sustaining members, I noticed that many have popped on this year who have given $100. They have to give $100 the next year, the next year, the next year in order to continue to be on there, but they can be on there with just the first year.
Yes, they
Correct.
can.
Okay,
Yes, you can. But the hope is that they're able to keep that commitment year after year. If they can't, there's no contract that is signed here.
right,
There's
yeah.
no- Yeah.
The other question I have, because this was asked to me, and I want to make sure I'm giving the right answer. We know that after 3 years, some of the funds that our club or our district send to Rotary International Foundation comes back.
Mhm.
Now, my question is, when does that 3 years click in? Let's say in 2023-24, Club X has donated collectively $10,000.
Yeah, it'd be
The
24,
first
25,
year,
25, 26,
24, 25,
26.7.
26 to 27 is when we would see that come back then.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. You're welcome. Now, we talk a lot about international grants. My former district, 5280, is going on an international humanitarian trip this year in October. Key words: international humanitarian trip. International. You know where they're going? They're going to Maui. But it's supposed to be an international trip. Well, see, they're doing that because they partnered with a club outside of the United States to provide relief efforts in the fire affected city in Maui. And I get such a kick out of that international service trip to Maui. Of course, they're also going to Barbados. Little did they know the island would be wiped out with a hurricane after they decided to go there. So that's probably the first time someone's picked this location for an international trip, and then the tragedy occurred. Yeah. So you can do all sorts of stuff.
So the international club was the host. And you,
Yes.
and you were the partners.
Well, that's happening this year. So that's my
Yeah.
former district. Yeah, that's correct. And they
Esther
take-
has put in the chat that the honoring ceremonies for Paul Harris Fellows and Polio Plus Society members, et cetera, is at the March Air Force Base
Mhm.
And planning is underway now, and it is November the 2nd.
And it's not going to be a fundraiser. It is not. Okay. Should be fun.
Other questions and comments?
Well, Doug, we do now have one club that just became a new Paul Harris Club.
Mm,
The Rotary Club of San Bernardino Sunset. Everyone this year received a new elevation or a new Paul Harris this year.
excellent, excellent. Make sure that Governor Judy request a banner for the club.
She presented
Oh, sure did. Right. Okay.
all of these, yes, that time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's going to take me a while to get used to saying Governor Judy. Yeah.
Not Judy, excuse me, Jamie did from
Maybe
last
last year.
Yeah, Jamie last year did.
So are you totally confused, stumped? Are you ready to go back to the clubs and promote the foundation?
I'm not certain that anyone could ever learn everything about the foundation,
No.
but
No.
you learn what you need to know.
Mhm.
And one of the things I think they need to know a little bit with respect to it, Doug, is the fact that how they transfer their points to another Rotarian. And that is one of the things that, people hold on to these points forever. And there's you don't want to be a banker of points. You want to share those points and try to entice other people to go. In my club, we donate our points 50%
Mhm.
each year if we can.
Mhm.
That is, if someone donates $250, we give them 250 points.
Right.
And then they will earn 250 points that
Mhm.
they can give to somebody else with
Correct.
their money that they have.
And it's
it's-
frustrating. I know for me, and I know for you, Bill, too. People just sit on these points and waiting for something better to do with them. There's nothing else you can do with them.
No.
There's nothing. Okay.
Except hoard them.
Recognition. And how to transfer them, by the way, there's always an RI form. That's all it is, just one piece of paper.
And that's how the Sunset Club became a new Paul Harris.
Mhm.
Is they donated money enough to move people up, and they gave points enough to move everybody up in their club.
Yeah.
And I bet there's a handy dandy Rotary International form to transfer those points. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, there is.
I get
Yes, it is. Like I said before, if you want to give, they have a way to take.
And where would they get that form?
Right.
From me.
Send it to them. I'll be happy to send it to them.
Yeah.
Also,
And-
you might, I think you have access to this as club foundation chairs. You might want to get on the RI website and get a copy of your club giving summary. And that will
Now,
tell
when I
you how.
said when I said from me, I'm going to be sending all of your foundation chairs that particular form and trying to work with them so that they know how to use the form and help you use the form.
Mhm.
And
Good,
so
thank you.
we'll be doing that.
Okay, and Rudy has a good
Really
point.
desperate. If you get really desperate, you can just Google the form and it will come up. It takes a little while to find it on Rotary International's website, but I think Doug or Bill would be happy to not only send you one, but they might even hand deliver it.
That's true.
Certainly depends on the club, but yes. Yes. And Rudy had a good point. Excuse me, Jennifer, we'll get to you in a second. You can use those points also to recognize somebody as a Paul Harris Fellow who's not a Rotarian, a local business person, something like that. You can honor them through that way as well. Okay, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, we had a nice thing happen this year. We have a visitor who's like a snowbird that comes and visits us, and he donated $500 in points for us to allocate out to our members as we wish. And we also have a ton of points that we're planning on dispensing this year.
Good.
I've
Yeah.
seen ceremonies at clubs where Rotarians with a number of points have brought their grandchildren and made them Paul Harris Fellows by giving them points. That's quite a moving thing to do, and an
Yes.
introduction to Rotary to much younger generations.
Now, there is some confusion at times. To become a major donor to the Rotary Foundation requires cumulative giving. I mean, it's from the day you became a Rotarian to now, cumulative giving of $10,000. Points cannot be used towards that. That is just simply cash donations over time. Okay, some people get confused. Dennis, you had a question? Dennis, I'm sorry, I thought you had your hand up.
I was going to make
Jay?
a point that Marilyn just made. Like our club, we haven't done it recently, but in the early days, we got in the habit of almost everybody made their spouse a Paul Harris Fellow.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went on the kids, and we have PDG Bob Tracer. He's got great grandchildren that he is loading up with Paul Harris Fellows and taking wonderful pictures and everything. So you can get your family involved.
Yeah, wonderful.
Jay, did you have your hand up?
I did, thank you. Lake Arrowhead, we haven't done it for a while, but we would hand out at the club meetings little slips with your name and your total points, so you knew. And people, I felt, were really surprised by what they had. It was kind of exciting, and I think the fact that this class, the slide presentation, I think took about 20 minutes, 22 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. I think that's going to be perfect for one of our speaker presentations in one of our weeks. I think we're going to prep it, get it ready, and then if a speaker doesn't show up or we need a filler, this is a great filler. Have those slips filled out. So you had mentioned going on to the giving summary, and I think that's where they got them last time. And then fill those out for all the members, and then review it, and then talk about it some more. So this has been excellent.
Yeah, well, thank you. I gave Marilyn a list of I don't know, 30, 35 members at our district who have given over $9,000 to the Rotary Foundation, but under 10,000. Okay, and she's going to call them and say, "Did you know you're just a couple $100 away from being a major donor?" And it's fascinating to me that people get that close, and for whatever reason, they stop.
Yeah, Doug, and I'm going to use your presentation, not as a filler, but as a program whenever anyone should ask.
Yeah, it's okay. I got a kick out of that. Just filler. Yeah, we got nothing better. Yeah, the
One
local
question-
financial planner is not available to talk, so we'll use Baker's presentation.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
One of the questions I'm asked frequently, because I'm the district Polio Plus chair, is if you donate to Polio Plus, does that count for Paul Harris points?
Yes. Yes,
It does now. It didn't used to in the past.
correct. It does now.
So Doug, I have a question, please. Dennis Sheehan from Rotary Club of Indio. At what time of year do the clubs start hearing about DDF funds availability, and from whom do they learn this information? Please.
We will get the breakdown from Rotary International. Probably the middle of this month, which is about now, or maybe next week. They should have it available, which shows how much we're getting. I can tell you that Governor Judy really, really wants this district to focus on good, qualified, phenomenal international projects. And one other thing I should point out, that we've had a bucket of money at the district, DDF. We've been trying for 2 years to give away. Okay, we tell people, you got a project, you want to do something? Hey, we'll give you, if it's qualified, we'll give you $5,000, $10,000, or maybe more out of the district pool to help you along. You'll have the same thing available this year as well. But that has been a most frustrating experience to me the last 2 years. I keep saying in the monthly newsletter, we got money. Would someone please take it? Okay, we want you to take it. Okay, and boy, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
And unfortunately, now we have to give it back after a period of time.
Yeah, we did a pretty good job. After, was it 3 years? It goes back to our Rotary International if we don't use it. Now this year we did a pretty good job of using up the DDF pool. But a new pool will come around, July 1st, as soon as we know the amount, and we got to start the process all over again. Okay. The district funded a water project in Mozambique. Phenomenal project. Perhaps the speaker was at one of your clubs. They've been doing it for 4 years now. The district donated $40,000 in DDF towards that project. Of course, when matched by Rotary, it becomes a $72,000 donation. Your district did that last year.
Any other questions or comments? Yes,
Yes,
Jay.
sir.
Unmute myself. Okay, I'm gonna probably embarrass myself. So I'm a new member. I think it's been about 12 years. And so much of this I know so very little about, even though I have, sat through great briefings, 3 or 4 times on almost every topic. So I apologize for that. But one of the things in our club that I'm realizing is that we have a lot of seniors, seniors, and some of them still have flip phones. They don't text, and they have difficulty with some emails and looking up stuff. So to go into our Rotary website and view something, it's very difficult for them. So we're trying to develop, when we don't have speakers, I'm just kidding, a program that we can, limit it to about 15, 20 minutes, keep their attention, and then answer questions. And we're trying to, my goal is to show the same program 2 to 3 times a year, and try to spice it up on the front side, back side, because they know it's going to be the same movie they've seen before, But going to Saturday matinees are fun if the right atmosphere is right. So we're trying to make it a good atmosphere for the education process. Is there, what I haven't researched yet, it's on the list, is to try to get more of this information, because I'm not that technical savvy as far as setting it up on our screen. But do we have a library that we can download on flash drive and then plug it in and have that presentation, and then we can work off of it? Does that kind of make sense? Or what do you
Yeah, it
suggest? How can
does.
I do better?
And Jay, also, you can go to the RI website and you
Right.
can search for foundation presentations. They have
Okay.
dozens of them. Dozens
And
of them.
I've gone through some of those. I guess
Mhm.
what I'm kind of asking for is, well, what you're saying is great. What I was kind of thinking out loud is that, how many of you have done it? Is it pretty easy to do? I'm also learning to delegate. I'm terrible about delegating, and I'm trying to learn to delegate. And now that I'm president, I have to delegate if I want to get some sleep. So it's been fun. People are stepping up and they're surprising me. We've always had an active group, but some of the group that has come to the lunch and and visited and shook hands and had a great time, and they're there for big events, but they haven't been that active with little events, are now getting active because we're asking them to, and we're building profiles for each of the committees. So they can open a blue book, look at that committee, what they would do if they volunteer to be lead, first chair, second chair. And I think I'm surprised at how quick they responded. You know, they've signed up for stuff that I didn't expect that person to sign up for a long time.
I've
So-
always believed, and I've been a Rotarian for 45 years now. 45.
Oh, you're a newbie too.
Yeah. I've always believed that involvement is the only provable way of membership retention. Your members get involved, they stick around. If they're not involved,
Mhm.
they'll go somewhere else. Involvement is key.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I feel we also have to make it accessible, easy to understand, answer those type of questions. Because everybody has a different question, do they need logistics to get there? Or do they not know how to work something, computer, phone? But I agree with you. Involvement is the key. And some of our big functions we've had to cancel. We used to do Art and Wine Festival every year. Big function, especially for the community. We would probably bring in around $60,000 to $80,000.
Wow.
And we would profit maybe 10 to 20. because we would be paying like the wrestling team. They came for 4 days to set up, take down, and do everything so they could go to nationals and state. So this thing grew to a point that we had so many groups involved, they were really counting on this. But unfortunately, the permits went from 500 to now about probably 8,500 to 10,000.
Yeah.
They would cancel. It would just got so difficult, and because of our limitations on our age,
We've
the
been
risk.
hearing
We
that
had a
from
couple that, yeah, and if bad weather hit, we would lose 20, 30, 40,000,
Yeah.
that quick. So
Yeah.
we had a couple years where one of the days we lost, we still recovered and did fine. But sadly, we had to give that up. So we're looking for other ways to get the people involved.
Okay. I've got about 3 minutes before I have to leave for another appointment. Does anybody else have anything for me?
And
Because I can leave and you guys can stick around.
Yes, I just want to emphasize, I've been Paul Harris Society Chair in my former district. I live in Taos, New Mexico. And I'm in the E-Club for World Peace. And I was assistant governor, all this stuff. But I think I look at my alma mater, which is always asking for money. And they've got a huge endowment, probably one of the top 5 endowments in the country. And I say, why give them more money? And I think we have to face the fact that some people are going to look at the Rotary financials annually and say, holy cow, they have an awful lot of money. And what do they need my $100 for? And I think the way to address that is where Doug started, which is talking about all the things that Rotary actually does with graphics, with images, I'm going to do a presentation in a couple of weeks for our club, and I'm going to ask people who've been on the Rotary service trips to talk about it, because the passion will drive the giving. It's not just saying, oh, we need more money, we need more money. That's my thought.
Yeah, in this world of Zoom, you can connect via Zoom to a club outside the United States. You can join their meetings. You can get to know them. They can tell you about a project they'd really like you to support. They can even take their laptops out to the project site and show you what it is that they're going to do. So you can actually be involved without having to fly down there. Although I'm telling you, going on an international trip for humanitarian, oh my gosh, I asked our district administrator for 5280, the former district, a few years ago. I said, would you go back 10 years and get the list of the Rotarians that went on the humanitarian trip 10 years ago? And I want to know how many of them are still members. And there was 140 some odd that went on the trip 10 years prior. And the answer to that was all. They still are. Okay. That thing just really locks people into Rotary. It really does. Yeah. Okay. And with that, I have to go. Marilyn, would you like to stay on?
Well, thank you, Doug, for all that you've done tonight. Really
Oh,
appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank
I'm
you,
glad to
Doug.
provide you a program, Bill, and you, Jay, a filler. And
I'm sure that Doug's available to either visit your club or give a Zoom presentation if you request him to do that. So please feel free. He gives an excellent presentation that explains the basics, and then, of course, his depth of knowledge answers all the questions. Thank you, Doug. We really
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
thank you, Doug.
good night, all.
Good night.
If you have comments or other questions that someone might be able to answer, we'll stay on. If not, we will end this. Thank you all for your time coming today. And next month it will be on membership, and you'll be getting information about that as well. Everybody will. So with that, thank you for being here. I hope you have found it beneficial, and we'll see you next time.